Black Cat says, if Trey does well, do you cut Brock so he isn't looking over Trey's shoulder? If Trey, here was my thing. If Trey was the starter, or when he was drafted, I would have gotten rid of Jimmy. I mean, you can go back to any shows back then or my tweets. I said right away, get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. Do what the Patriots did and get rid of the problem before it becomes a problem. And at that point, you probably had suitors for Jimmy Garoppolo. They decided not to do that. He lingered, for better or worse. I know some people are like, well, he was right in starting Jimmy. I mean, they made an NFC championship. And my argument's always been, unless they won a Super Bowl, he was wrong. And that's just my personal opinion. We still don't know what Trey Lance is. Brock Purdy aside, let's remove Brock Purdy from the situation for a second. We still don't know what Trey Lance is. If they had started Trey Lance week 1, year 1, and had that thought process from the day they drafted him and put all of the work into him, we would have a much better idea of who Trey Lance is at this point, whether he is the guy or he's not the guy. We still don't know. We know as much as we did year 1. And I think that's because they chose to ride with Jimmy year 1. That's always going to be my thought. So for Brock Purdy, we did a show, Ryan and myself, where we gave Brock Purdy advice, and we gave the 49ers advice on how to handle Brock Purdy. And one of the things that I said is, if Brock Purdy truly is your guy, then go all in. And that is up to and including getting rid of Trey Lance one way or another, and just making sure that there isn't this split, so to speak, in the fan base, because I get it that may not impact what happens in the locker room. But Kyle Shanahan's full of crap if he says this team doesn't pay attention to what's going on. Kyle Shanahan is the one that went to Trey Lance and told him that everybody was talking about how they were going to trade him to Tennessee. Kyle Shanahan pays attention. So remove the problem before it becomes a problem. I would treat Purdy the exact way that I wanted them to treat Trey. And I would move on from Trey if Purdy's the guy. So back now to your question, if Trey is 100% the guy, yeah, I'm removing all barriers. I'm doing what they should have done the first time, in my opinion. Regardless of who the quarterback is, I'm removing all the barriers. That's what I'm doing. So yes, I in a long-winded way, to answer your question, yes, I would remove Brock Purdy from the equation. I absolutely would. Just like I think they should remove Trey Lance from the equation. So what would you do? Would you trade Brock Purdy if we okay? No matter what, you're not trade. So you wouldn't trade Trey or Brock Purdy, no matter what,
unless I'm getting a ridiculous multiple first-round draft picks or like a game changer of a player that is coming with that trade. I have to be winning that trade in my mind. But there is no look. We went through 4 quarterbacks last season. I am absolutely not giving up a bad quarterback, and I don't think Kyle Shanahan is. I think what was a couple years ago when he said, "I'm not like," when it came to trading Jimmy, he made it clear like, I'm not just getting rid of a good quarterback. Like, right. It's tough to find them. The fact that the 49ers feel like they have 3 on the roster right now, I don't think any of these guys are going anywhere. Like,
I'm not saying that Shanahan would or will. I'm saying what I would do. What I would do.
And me personally, I agree with Shanahan. I'm not. Look, if my quarterback is worried about who's the backup, then they're probably not going to be the guy anyways. Like, I want a guy that's confident enough to be like, I'm going to outplay any kind of criticism, outplay any kind of competition that's there. And ultimately, neither of these quarterbacks have necessarily, quote unquote, proven anything. So I don't think any of them deserve the Tom Brady treatment where Tom Brady could go in and be like, trade Jimmy, trade, all these people. Like, that's Tom Brady. Brock Purdy and Trey Lance are not that. Compete. You know what I mean? And yeah, have a guy over your shoulder. Show us you deserve to be the starter.
I guess okay my thought process is the competition ends once you choose a guy. And if you've chosen a guy, especially if you've chosen Purdy, right? If you've chosen Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft, You gave up everything you gave up to go get Trey Lance, and you're still choosing Purdy over that guy. Then go all in on him, man. You've got Sam Darnold, who you like. It sounds like they like Allen. Regardless, I'm not saying that they love Allen to the point to where he's the starter, but I mean, Allen is certainly better than what they had in the NFC Championship game last year. I think we can all agree there. So, especially if you can approach trade deadline and all these guys are still healthy, it's like, why not, man? I mean, why? It's not that the quarterback isn't confident or I don't believe that the quarterback can fight through it. I just feel like it's an issue that doesn't need to be there. It's like I have things in life that I know. Okay, I'll give you an example. I love my wife, right? Been with her since 2005. We've been married since 2009. I can confidently say I would never cheat on my wife. However, I'm also not going to get drunk around a bunch of women that are single. You know what I mean? Like, why even put myself in that situation? I know I wouldn't, but why even do that? So it kind of goes back to this thing. Yeah, great. I'm sure the quarterback is confident, but why even have that issue lingering over the quarterback? Just go all in with somebody. If you are ballsy enough to say, hey, this is my guy. We believe he's a guy. We believe he's the franchise guy. Then go all in with him. Quit playing games, man. Bobby D says, Jesse, are you willing to trade Trey for Chase Young? Yeah. I mean, if Purdy's the guy, like I said, I'm removing Trey from the equation. So
straight up, or would you need something else?
I would do it straight up. I think it's a fair trade. I think it's a fair trade. I really do. I think it's a fair trade. If Trey is your backup quarterback and you've gone with Purdy, first of all, I would start Trey. So like if I'm running the team, I'm starting Trey. I got to see what I got in Trey. But if the 49ers are willing to roll with Purdy and name him their guy, I think Sam Darnold's a pretty decent backup. I know I say a lot about Sam Darnold. I don't want him playing a ton of games by any means. But if Sam Darnold plays for you 3 games in a season, I feel comfortable with that. If you get down to Allen, I feel a lot more comfortable with Allen than any situation we had last year going in that NFC Championship game. So I feel comfortable with that. And again, I'm going all in with the quarterback they choose. So if that's Purdy, then I would prefer that they remove Trey from the equation. And I would definitely go Trey for Chase Young. Yeah, I would.
That's what
I would.
That's too rich for my blood.
I got it. I feel like it's a fair trade. I really do. You
were going from like 3rd to 5th, Frank Clark, Yannick Ngakoue, and then it's like Trey Lance. I'm like, nah, homie. Like,
well, what is Trey Lance worth in the open market? You know what I mean? Like, if you were to trade Trey Lance, realistically, what do you think he's going to get? A third? I think the trade that I laid out, where okay, I would trade a third that could escalate to a second depending on how Chase plays. I feel like that's probably realistic for Trey Lance. So I think it's a fair trade on paper. I really do.